Hi everyone, I'm Rebeca Delgado. I work at Intel and I'm very excited to be here with you guys today. I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit about my career. I'm a principal AI engineer and solution architect at Intel. And let me tell you a little bit of my story and how I arrived to my current job description. So I'm Mexican. I grew up in Guadalajara, which is the second largest city in Mexico. I am a mom to a 9-year-old, amazing, creative, very smart girl who keeps me very busy and very entertained. And growing up, I was always very interested in riddles and puzzles and solving, problems. And as well, part of these areas was really always showed in my education. I always enjoyed math a lot. But at the same time, I am a super social person. I really enjoy hanging out with people, talking to people, getting to know people. So all of these characteristics in me paved a career that I will share with you shortly. As I was mentioning, I am a very social person, and because of my mixed heritage, I have always enjoyed thoroughly cultural experiences and travel. I really, really enjoy food, cooking. I'm always like trying to find like the cool, like delicious new food place around, you know, and trying everything all over the place. So based on that curiosity I've always had for personal experiences and international travel, I ended up moving to Detroit for a career pursuit. So let me tell you a little bit about my career. So I studied to be a computer engineer in Mexico, and I started my career back then in Mexico in a company called Motorola. You guys may be too young, but at the time, Motorola was like the biggest cell phone maker. It as well had all of the computer chip. A lot of the computer chips came from Motorola. So it was a very high tech, very interesting place to be at. The when I started working, I actually started as an intern in Motorola in Mexico. And as this curiosity that I was telling you about, that I've always had to have different cultural experiences, I decided I wanted to go see the world and expand my career opportunities and my career experience. So because Mexico has a very important automotive industry, and I was working on computers for cars in Mexico. I applied for a job in Detroit, which at the time was definitely the center of the world when it came to automotive technology. So I got to move to Detroit and work with very, very talented senior like people, that taught me so much. I moved here when I was like around 24, 25 years old. And let me tell you a little bit about the stuff that I did when I first moved to the US. So as I was mentioning, I was working on cars and computers for cars as a computer engineer. And as I was telling you as well, I really enjoy math. So one of the first big projects that I worked on in this new position in the US, I started working on math for cars. And the project that I was working on was on how to make more efficient uh, use of the fuel in the cars in the powertrain system, so the car engine, so that they would burn gas cleaner. And that to me was something super interesting because I've always cared a lot about the environment, and to be able to do this through math, through computer engineering, was just like a dream come true, right? I'm very proud to say that these are the original first projects that I moved to Detroit for. Ended up launching in pretty much every vehicle manufactured by GM, Ford, and Chrysler. So that interest for math and puzzles and working with others allowed me to participate in these efforts. And as I was working through that, math for those computers for cars, I identified that there was one computer working on some math and then there would be a second computer working on some other um, uh, you know, workload or some other like job in the car. And then I realized that all of these computers had to communicate with each other, right? And I became very curious about that. And, you know, as I was mentioning to you guys, I'm a curious person. So I started studying more about these communications in between computers for cars. And then after that, I realized that a lot of software was needed to enable these communications in the computers for cars. And over the years, I continued to add topics to my understanding of how to make a car work and all of the computers in a vehicle. So I was working on all of these topics. I had accumulated a series of experiences, and then I moved to Intel because Intel was now working on cars that drive themselves, and they wanted industry experts that understood about math and understood about cars and understood about computers, and they pulled me in, and I joined. So over the last 6 years, I've been working on these projects at Intel, and trying to understand, you know, what it took from what kind of computer in a car was needed so that the car could drive itself. I identified that something very important for this was the kind of math needed for these computers was artificial intelligence, AI. So I started working a lot on what we take, what kind of AI, what kind of computer chips, what kind of computer systems were needed for these cars to be able to drive themselves. And that allowed me to become a principal AI engineer, which is a fancy way to say that I'm expected to help my company, my customers, and other engineers to make better computer chips and better computers for uh, autonomous driving applications. After that, I identified if we could make cars drive themselves by having computers with AI in them, then we should put AI everywhere, right? And I've been working on what other kind of applications are there that would allow put AI everywhere, not just in the cloud, not just in the data center. So one of the applications that I've been working on as well is what kind of computer chips would you be needing for robots, you know? And the idea here is that the same way that we've developed these computers to make cars drive themselves, that would free, you know, the driver from having to work in driving, right? Imagine if I was driving somewhere before and now my car drives itself, then I could spend that time, you know, playing with my daughter or taking a nap or maybe eating lunch or maybe you know, hang out with some friends, right? So the idea here is what kind of improvement we can make to our quality of life, you know, to have like a better life for ourselves and others with the AI and the computer chips that I work on. So today my job is called Solutions Architect, which means I work with my customers and I work with my peers in my team to define computer chips for these computers all over the place so that we can put AI everywhere and to remove some of the work that we all have to do so that we have the time, we have a chance to work less and spend more time doing what we love and with the ones we love. As well, something that I think it's very important besides doing my day job is that what can I do to make the experience of of the people around me better? When I was growing up, um, girls weren't super encouraged to be good at math or be engineers. When I went to college, there were only 8 women in my whole college trying to become engineers like me in computer engineering. So I've always found that it's kind of like an exception rather than the rule for women to be in tech. So at Intel, being a technology company, I am volunteering in this organization called Women at Intel Network that helps improve and empower women in our company to ensure that our experience is a positive one. Because at the end of the day, what I would love to see is more women working in tech, and bringing all of these diversity of ideas of what else do we need to do in tech to make our lives better and our world better. So in that regard, what does that mean, right? For like engineers, how can engineers make an impact in the world? Where there's very many ways that engineers um, help uh, our world, right? And engineering is a base of from where you can launch into very many different ways. And here are some ideas that I wanted to share with you. I mean, engineers mainly focus on solving problems, but as well, if you are like a long-term thinker and you like to think big, you could be working on inventing new things. But the reality is that all of these are big tasks and challenges. And something that's very important about engineering is that it allows you to work with others to really, push some of these advances along the way. So I think those are very interesting things that engineering allow you to do. But doing all of this work is not trivial or easy. That is just work. You focus and you put your efforts, but working is not enough. Luck is not enough. A lot of times you have to put a lot of thinking and how and why you want to do things. So here I want to show you some of my best practices that have allowed me to be a successful person, but at the same time, and more importantly, a happy and healthy person. So one of my biggest tips and tricks that I wanted to share with you is I care a lot about why am I doing things. I always ask myself, why is this a problem? Why am I working with this person or with this customer or in this company? Why do I even want to be an engineer, right? Why do I want to be a mom? All of these things make me very clear about what are my goals. And when things get tough and you have this clarity, it's very helpful, because then it'll help you in the hard times, and in the good times you'll be very happy about what you're doing because you know why you are doing what you're doing. The other thing that I do is I'm like a very positive person, and I like to take opportunities. So I like to say yes a lot, because saying yes opens a bunch of opportunities that you didn't know were available to you. Like, for me coming to Detroit, I mean, some people might have been like, why Detroit? Like, I don't care about, like, I don't know that place, maybe not. But I said yes, and I was like, I want to go try it out and see what happens and see if I enjoy it. But when I say yes, I always say how. I'm like, yes, I want to do this. But for me to be able to do this, I need X, Y, Z, right? Or I need it to be done in this way or this other way. So I say yes, but then I say how, so that to make sure that it works for me. And in doing that, I always focus on solving for future me. You know, I take care of things that I know could become problems in the future, and that way future me is not annoyed because like past me didn't take care of something. So I'm always thinking of future Rebecca, so that future Rebecca is not angry at today's Rebecca because she didn't do what she needed to do. And I call these things setting myself for success. The idea of setting myself for success is, I ensure that I know where I'm going, why am I going, how am I doing these things, and planning what kind of like resources and time and support I'm gonna need, because that's a good way to take care of myself, right? And ensure that I will be successful in my pursuits. And I prioritize myself, because if I don't do that, nobody else will. And if I don't prioritize myself, somebody else will prioritize for me, and they may be less interested in taking care of me versus me taking care of myself. So again, solving for future me and setting myself for myself for success by prioritizing my needs, and so that I can bring myself into the workplace and in my life as positively as I can. And at the end of the day, in this topic, right, the best way that I can show myself as a mom, as a friend, as a coworker is by being myself, because then I can really show my full self, my full capabilities, my full talent. by being authentic to myself and who I am, and that would allow my full self to be to show up. And at the end of the day, we have to be ourselves because everybody else is taken. So I hope these best practices are helpful to you guys, and that my story helps you think about what do you want to do for yourself in the future. And there's so many interesting things to solve in technology. I hope this is a career that it's of interest to you guys. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you.